Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. In this lecture, we will be discussing about the Ganga Treaty. Now this Ganga Treaty is there between, as you can see, India and Bangladesh. We will see what the treaty is all about and where it is, where it is heading, where it is, when it is about to expire, and why is India talking about reviewing it. Of course, it's about to expire, so there will be probably an extension, but the extension need not necessarily happen based on the same terms and conditions which are presently in force, and rather some different terms and condition is probably what is required by us. So let us see what this treaty is all about, why this decision of reviewing it, and what does India, what we want out of it, and will Bangladesh be providing us with that. So let's get started with it. So first things first, what is this Ganga Water Treaty? Of course, as the name suggests, Ganga Water Treaty, so it will of course be with respect to the Ganga river and the sharing of the Ganga waters. So it is for the sharing of Ganga waters, sharing of Ganga water between which two nations? Between India and Bangladesh in general, and specific. So in general, it's for the sharing of the Ganga waters, specifically the area around the Farakka barrage that has been created. So what is this barrage? This barrage is basically an infrastructural structure wherein you can control the flow of the river over here. That is what a barrage does. It controls the flow. Now this barrage is of course here. Now India here is, of course, India is a riparian state, Bangladesh is a riparian state. Riparian state means the states, as in the region where the river passes through, is that region is known as the riparian region. So India and Bangladesh, both countries are riparian region. Now India here is an upper riparian region and Bangladesh is a lower riparian region. Why Bangladesh is lower? Because ultimately when the Ganga is flowing into the ocean, it is lastly doing that via the Bangladesh route. So Bangladesh is the lower riparian state, India is an upper riparian state. Now here it's very clear that since we are the upper riparian state, we can actually control the flow. Yes, that is correct. We can control the flow and decide how much the water will go, how much will not go, where we want to store. We can create dams, we can store them, we can divert them, we can do whatever we want. But of course, India is a law-abiding country, unlike other countries which are not. So we have seen in cases of Indus Water Treaty wherein Pakistan is there. We have seen in other cases wherein certain other countries are there which do not abide as such by the laws, which do not as such give a damn about other countries. But here, even requesting and wanting to review is abiding by the law and actually caring about the other countries' requirement as well. So this is a very ethical thing which India always does, but a lot of countries don't do that. Anyway, coming back to this point, so this is the barrage. We are the upper riparian, we could control, but we are still wanting it to be reviewed. We want this treaty to be reviewed. Now, why review? We'll see that as well. Now, presently the treaty, the Ganga Treaty, which is in force, which we are talking about, it is in force. The present treaty is in force since 1996, and the duration of it was 30 years. So it will be in force till the year 2026. That means next year it is going to expire. Now, what was the provision of this treaty? As per this treaty, 35,000 cusecs. Cusecs means cubic seconds. This is the cubic second, the flow. So 35,000 cubic meter per second of flow for 10 days each. So for 10 days to India, for 10 days to Bangladesh. Like this, alternatively, the water needs to be provided in the lean season in the month of March 11 to May 11. So see, rest of the season, there is not much of an issue with respect to the flow of the river. But in the lean season, wherein the flow is less, of course, there will be an issue. So during that duration, the treaty talks about 35,000 cubic meter per second of flow, 10 days alternatively for the two countries, India being one of them. So that is what the Ganga Treaty is. Now, why the renegotiation? First things first, see, with respect to Indus Water Treaty also, we have abided by it. Indus Water Treaty gave us the right to make run of the rivers. We did not even utilize that right. Right? So we are over abiding, that is being done. But now, instead of over abiding, we are becoming assertive. Assertive means we don't want to take away someone else's right, but at least let us stamp or let us be very clear about what rights we have. So we would want what is we would want and we would take what is ours is the motto going forward. So Indus Water Treaty was suspended post the Pahalgam terror attack. So that suspension was of course a retaliation that we have done, one form of retaliation, diplomatic retaliation that we did. Now here it is no such diplomatic retaliation as such. It is just that India is now seeking renegotiation. Why? Because we want to change our stance. We want to, take what is our right. We will see why it can be a right of India, how international relations actually demand that it can be India's right to ask for more water. Now, the new treaty that we want is to be of lesser duration. So it is expected that around 10 to 15 years. Why? Previous treaty was 30 years long. Now, since it's 30 years long, in time period, the requirements changes, a lot of things changes, the flow of river changes, the quantity of water flow changes, there are a lot of changes. So having such a long duration treaty will be very rigid, as a result of which we might be looking for a shorter term treaty which will give us flexibility and adaptability to the changing situations. Now, what are the key concerns? Why in the treaty, let me tell you, basically we would want more water from the Ganga river. Now, why is that the case? Why we want that? Because there are certain concerns. First is the increased developmental needs. India needs to develop faster, higher, better, so more developmental needs are there. So basically, since more needs are there, we want an additional, or there is a request for 30 to 35,000 cusecs of additional water during the lean season. So we want additional water specifically during the lean season. In surplus season, in the normal season, that's not a problem, but when there is a lean season, that's when we want higher quantity of water from there. Now, as far as the states through which the Ganga river passes, now the states are also okay with it. West Bengal and Bihar have supported this demand. West Bengal is anyhow facing water shortages. Bihar, of course, needs water for drinking and irrigation. And of course, Indian states, it's a collaborative decision by India, and India is what? A union of states. So we are in favor of this to happen. Right? So this is the requirement. We'll try to justify why it is justifiable. But before that, what has been the impact of 1996 treaty? With respect to the impact, the Farakka barrage design which was made, it was there to divert 40,000 cubic meter per second water to the Kolkata port. The port also require water for ease of movement of shipping industry and ships basically. Now that treaty, the treaty disrupted its flow. We built the Farakka barrage and this was the goal of the Farakka barrage. But then the Ganga Water Treaty came into picture. So Ganga Water Treaty talks about 35,000 cubic meter per second of flow, alternate 10 days in the lean year. So there, this goal completely fails. So it disrupted this flow, which resulted in a lot of issues in our shipping industry also. Slope failure, bed erosion, heavy siltation. Siltation means water is less, so more and more silt is getting accumulated over here. Reduced navigational efficiency for the port, taking it more time consuming and hence more costly. There are certain diplomatic factors as well. Routine biannual meeting with Bangladesh, right? Routine biannual meeting with Bangladesh in May 2025 turned strategic. It was a routine meeting, but why it has become strategic? Because there are strategic requirements of India. Now, what all has happened is in Bangladesh, there have been a recent coup in Bangladesh. The Bangladesh Sheikh Hasina government is no longer there. So there has been a recent coup. Now Sheikh Hasina's government had a better relation with India. That is not the case with respect to Bangladesh in the present situation. So that is why we need to make things clear. That is why it is diplomatically also important to renegotiate this. Clear? So what is happening because of this requirement? There is India's changed stance, which you can clearly see. A senior Ministry of External Affairs official has already said that before Pahalgam, we were inclined to extend for 30 years. We were inclined to extend, means the same numbers, same criteria for the next 30 years. But after that, situation has changed drastically. Now we need not take anyone else's share, but at least stamp our own authority and our own right. So this reflects a shift from generosity to assertiveness, which is not illegal, which is not wrong. We are just asserting what our right is, and we are going to renegotiate it. Our emphasis will be on equity and respect for upper riparian rights. So this is what I was talking about. The upper riparian states have the right to the water of the flowing water body, that is river. At the same time, equity. Equity means what? The river Ganga flows for a longer distance in India than in Bangladesh. So equity needs to be there. We should be allowed to have more water from that. That is the logic of equity over here. So if you talk about way forward, the way forward should be to have a shorter treaty, of course, because things keeps on changing, and adaptive. So shorter and adaptive treaty cycle, 10 to 15 years, so that the changing things can be taken into account. Prioritize India's emerging developmental needs should be taken into consideration. Based on that, we should decide how much water we need, and leverage the scientific data for equitable sharing. Talking about the longer distances anyhow traversed in India, and other data of paucity of water, etc., should be backing up the claim of India to have higher water, for Bangladesh to renegotiate, review the treaty, renegotiate for a shorter duration. Thank you.